The ship was dying. Tolo could feel it in the way the wall shook. He could hear it in the screams that echoed through the dark hallways. The Pale Horizon had been a research vessel, built for studying stars and collecting samples from empty moons. It was never meant for battle. It had no weapons, no shields, no way to fight back. And now it was broken. The old researcher pressed his thin body against the cargo hold wall. Around him, 52 other Valari huddled together in the darkness. Their bodies glowed softly with pale blue light. This was natural for their kind. When Valari felt fear, they glowed brighter. Right now, the cargo hold looked like it was filled with frightened stars. A child clung to her mother nearby. "Are we going to die?" she asked. The mother said nothing. She just held her daughter tighter. Tolo closed his 4 eyes and tried to remember how they had come to this moment. The Pale Horizon had been on a simple mission. They were traveling through empty space, far from any known trade routes. They thought they were safe. They thought no one would find them in the darkness between stars. They were wrong. The raiders had appeared from nowhere. 3 ships, black as the void itself, with weapons that tore through the pale horizon like claws through soft flesh. The Valari had tried to run. Their engines were fast, built for quick escapes from solar storms and asteroid fields. But the raiders were faster. The first shot had killed the captain. The second had destroyed the engine room. After that, the Pale Horizon became nothing more than a floating coffin. Tolo remembered the screams on the communication system. He remembered the chief engineer crying for help before her voice cut off forever. He remembered running through smoke-filled corridors, grabbing anyone he could find, pushing them toward the cargo hold. Now, they waited. The ship shook again. Somewhere above them, metal scraped against metal. The raiders were coming back. Tolo knew what they wanted. The Keth Marauders were famous across this region of space. They did not kill for pleasure. They killed for profit. And living beings were worth more than dead ones in the slave markets of the Outer Rim. "Elder Tolo," a young voice called out. It was Byron, one of his research assistants. The young Valari's glow was so bright with fear that it hurt to look at him. "What do we do?" "There must be something we can do." Tolo looked at the frightened faces around him. Scientists, students, families, who had joined the expedition to see the wonders of deep space. None of them were fighters. None of them had ever held a weapon. The Valari were a peaceful species from a peaceful world. Their planet had no predators. Their oceans were calm. Their skies never stormed. They had evolved in paradise, and it had made them soft. "The emergency beacon," Tolo said suddenly. His mind raced through possibilities. "Is it still working?" Byron checked his damaged tablet. "I think so. The backup systems are still online. But Elder, we are in the dead zone. No one travels here. No one will hear us." "Someone might," Tolo said. He did not believe his own words, but he needed to give them hope. "Launch the beacon. Send the distress signal in every language the computer knows. Someone might be listening." Byron nodded and ran toward the emergency panel on the far wall. His fingers moved quickly over the controls. A moment later, a soft hum filled the cargo hold. The beacon had launched. Tol watched it go on a small screen. A tiny metal ball, shooting away from their dying ship, screaming for help in 100 different languages. It was such a small thing. Such a desperate, foolish thing. But it was all they had. The ship shook again, hotter this time. The lights flickered and died. In the darkness, the Valari glowed like a constellation of dying stars. Children cried. Adults prayed to gods they had not believed in since childhood. Tolo pressed his hand against the cold metal wall. He thought about his home world. He thought about the warm seas where he had learned to swim as a child. He thought about his partner, waiting for him to return from this expedition. She would never know what happened to him. She would wait, and he would never come home. A tear rolled down his thin face. Above them, the sound of cutting tools echoed through the ship. The raiders were breaking through the hull. They would find the cargo hold soon. They would find the survivors. And then it would be over. "I am sorry," Talo whispered to no one in particular. "I am so sorry." The beacon flew on through the endless dark. Its signal was weak, barely a whisper in the vastness of space. The chances of anyone hearing it were almost zero. The dead zone was called that for a reason. Ships did not travel here. Stations did not monitor here. Help would not come. But the universe is a strange place. And sometimes, even in the darkest void, someone is listening. Far away. On the edge of Terran-monitored space, a young commander named Yuna was finishing her night shift on a listening station. She was tired. Her coffee had gone cold hours ago. She was thinking about her bed, about sleep, about the quiet comfort of dreams. Then her console made a sound she had never heard before. A distress signal. Alien language. Civilian vessel. Yuna sat up straight. Her training took over. Her fingers flew across the keyboard, recording the signal, tracing its origin, translating its desperate words. What she heard made her blood run cold. "This is the research vessel Pale Horizon. We are under attack. Raiders have destroyed our engines. We have wounded. We have children. Please, if anyone can hear this, we need help. We need help. We need help." Yuna reached for her communication device. Her hand was steady. Her voice was calm. But inside, something ancient and powerful was waking up. Humans had a word for it. They called it rage. Fleet Admiral Jinho had not slept well in 30 years. This was not because of bad dreams or poor health. It was because his mind never stopped working. Even when his body rested, his brain was planning, calculating, preparing for threats that might never come. This was what made him a good admiral. This was also what made him a difficult man to know. He was sitting in his private quarters on the TRNS, indomitable when the message arrived. The ship was quiet at this hour. Most of the crew was sleeping. Only the night watch remained awake, watching screens and monitoring sensors in the endless darkness of space. Jinho was reading an old book. Paper pages, real ink. A rare thing in an age of screens and holograms. He liked the feel of paper under his fingers. It reminded him of his grandmother, who had taught him to read when he was a boy on the Korean coast. That was a long time ago, before the Terran Republic, before humanity reached the stars, before everything changed. His tablet buzzed. Jinho put down his book and picked up the device. The message was from Commander Yuna at Listening Station 7. He read it twice, then read it a third time. His face did not change, but something shifted behind his eyes. He stood up and walked to the bridge. The night crew jumped to attention when he entered. Admiral Jinho was not a tall man, but he had a presence that filled any room. His face was marked with old scars from a battle he never talked about. His back was reinforced with metal and synthetic bone after an accident that should have killed him. He walked with a slight click in his spine, a constant reminder of the price he had paid for his career. "Captain Sora," he said. "Come here." His executive officer hurried over. Sora was young for her rank, barely 40 years old. But she was smart and loyal, and Jinho trusted her completely. She looked at the tablet he held out and read the message. Her eyes went wide. "Sir, this is outside our jurisdiction," she said. "The dead zone is unclaimed space. We would need permission from the Galactic Council to... How long would that take?" Sora hesitated. 40 rotations. Maybe 30 if we mark it urgent. "Those people have hours," Jinho said. "Maybe less." "Sir, I understand." But protocol, I know the protocol. Jinho turned to face the main view screen. Stars filled the display, cold and distant. Somewhere out there, 53 beings were waiting to die. Children were crying. Parents were praying. And the Galactic Council wanted him to fill out forms. He thought about his grandmother again. She had survived the Korean War, the famines, the floods. She had seen her country torn apart and rebuilt. And she had taught him one thing above all others. When someone cries for help, you answer. Captain, Jinho said quietly. Initiate Protocol 0. The bridge went silent. Protocol 0 was not in the official Terran Navy handbook. It was a doctrine that existed only in whispers, passed down from admiral to admiral. It had been created during the early days of human expansion, when colony ships had disappeared in hostile space, and no one had come to save them. Never again, the founders had sworn. Never again would humans let innocents die because of politics. Protocol 0 meant full mobilization. Every available ship, every available soldier. Maximum response to a threat against civilians, regardless of who civilians they were. Sora swallowed hard. Sir, are you certain? The Council will be angry. There could be diplomatic consequences. Let them be angry. Jinho turned to face his crew. His voice was calm but carried across the entire bridge. Wake everyone up. I want all 17 ships in this fleet ready to jump within the hour. Full combat readiness. This is not a drill. Officers scrambled to their stations. Alarms began to sound throughout the ship. In their bunks, sleeping soldiers opened their eyes and reached for their weapons. On the other ships of the fleet, the same scene repeated. The destroyer Swift Justice powered up its engines. The cruiser Morning Star loaded its missile bays. The carrier groups launched their fighter squadrons into holding patterns. And at the front of the formation, the great dreadnought Soul's Fury began to wake up. The Soul's Fury was the largest warship humanity had ever built. It was 2 kilometers long, bristling with weapons that could crack moons. Its main gun, a magnetic accelerator cannon, could fire a metal slug at a fraction of the speed of light. One shot could destroy a small city. A full barrage could end civilization's. It had never been fired in anger. Humanity had built it as a warning, a sign to the galaxy that the children of Earth were not to be tested. Tonight, it would speak. Lieutenant Commander Hana, the communications officer, approached Admiral Jinho with a question in her eyes. Sir, should I send a message to the raiders? Warn them to stand down? Jinho considered this. Diplomacy was important. Rules of engagement existed for a reason. A good officer always offered surrender before firing. Wait until we arrive, he said. Let them see what they are facing first. Hana nodded and returned to her station. Across the fleet, 20,000 men and women prepared for battle. Pilots checked their fighters. Marines loaded their rifles. Engineers ran final diagnostics on weapons and shields. They did not know who they were saving. They did not know why they were fighting. It did not matter. Someone had called for help. Humans answered. 1 hour later, 17 ships aligned their navigation systems to a single point in the dead zone. Engines hummed with power. Reality itself bent around them as they prepared to fold space. Admiral Jinho stood at the center of his bridge, hands clasped behind his back. He thought about the aliens on that dying ship. He did not know what they looked like. He did not know their names or their culture or their history. He only knew that they were afraid and that he had the power to help them. All ships report ready, Sora announced. Jinho nodded. Then let us go save some lives. The fleet jumped. Space folded. Stars blurred. 17 warships vanished from Terran space and reappeared in the darkness of the dead zone. The rescue had begun, but the galaxy would not call it a rescue. They would call it something else. They would call it the moment everything changed. The moment the universe learned what happened when you harmed the innocent within earshot of humanity. They would call it the day the Deathworlders answered, and nothing would ever be the same. The Keth Raider ship Dark Hunger circled the dying pale horizon like a predator playing with wounded prey. Warlord Grax stood on his command bridge and watched his prize with satisfaction. The alien vessel was finished. Its engines were dead. Its life support was failing. Soon, the creatures inside would start to suffocate. Then they would become desperate. Then they would surrender. Grack was a patient hunter. He'd been raiding ships for 60 years. He had captured thousands of slaves from dozens of species. The soft ones always broke first. The peaceful ones from their paradise worlds with no predators and no wars. They did not know how to fight. They did not know how to die with dignity. They begged and cried and offered everything they had. Grack found it amusing. "Status report," he growled. His voice sounded like rocks grinding together. His second in command, a scarred female named Vrek, checked her screens. Life signs are concentrated in the cargo hold. 53 targets. Mix of adults and young. No weapons detected. Good. Grack flexed his forearms. His species, the Keth, were built for violence. Their bodies were covered in thick armor plates. Their claws could tear through metal. Their eyes could see heat signatures through walls. Evolution had made them perfect killers. "Prepare boarding parties," Grack ordered. "I want them alive. Undamaged goods sell for better prices." The crew laughed. It was a cruel sound, like bones breaking. Grack turned to look at his other two ships. The Blackthorn and the Silent Death held position nearby, their weapons still pointed at the alien vessel. 3 raider ships against 1 research vessel. It was barely a challenge. But Grack had not survived 60 years by being careless. He always brought more force than necessary. "Lord Grack," Rex said suddenly. Her voice had changed. There was something in it that Grack had not heard in many years. Fear. What is it? Unknown signatures. Multiple contacts. They just appeared from nowhere. Grack spun to face the main screen. What he saw made his blood turn cold. Stars were appearing in the darkness. Not natural stars. These were too bright, too focused. They were engine signatures. Ship signatures. Many ship signatures. "Count them," Grack whispered. Vrek's claws trembled over her console. 17. 17 vessels. "Lord Grack, the smallest one is larger than our entire fleet combined." The shapes began to take form as they slowed from their jump. Grack's tactical computer tried to identify them, searching through databases of known species and ship designs. It found a match almost immediately. Terran Republic Navy. Classification: Deathworld. Species: threat level: extreme. Grack felt something he had not felt in decades. His hearts began to beat faster. His armor plates rattled against each other. Humans. Every raider knew about humans. They were legends in the dark spaces of the galaxy. A species from a planet so deadly that simply surviving there was considered a miracle. High gravity, toxic atmosphere, extreme temperatures, constant natural disasters, and predators. So many predators. The creatures that crawled out of that hell had conquered their entire solar system in less than 500 years. They had built ships that moved faster than light. They had weapons that could destroy planets, and they were insane. That was what the story said. Humans were insane. They felt no fear. They never retreated. They would chase an enemy across the entire galaxy if they had to. They did not understand the concept of acceptable losses. Every human life was precious to them. Every human death had to be answered. But Grack had never heard of humans caring about aliens. "Open a channel," he ordered. His voice was steady, even if his hearts were not. Find out what they want. The communication screen flickered to life. A human face appeared. Female, by their standards. Her hair was dark, pulled back from her face. Her eyes were calm and steady. Unknown vessels, she said. Her voice was polite but cold. This is Lieutenant Commander Hana of the Terran Republic Navy. The vessel you are attacking transmitted a distress signal. You will stand down, release all hostages, and surrender your ships for inspection. Grak stared at the screen. Then he laughed. Terrans? You came all this way for these soft creatures? They are not your kind. They are not your concern. This is Keth space. These prey belong to the Keth Dominion. The human female did not react. I will repeat. You have attacked a civilian vessel. You will stand down immediately. Or what? Grak spread his forearms wide. You will fire on us? Start a war with the Keth Dominion? Over 50 worthless aliens. There was a pause. Then a new voice came through the channel. Deeper, older, a male human voice. This is Fleet Admiral Jinho of the Terran Republic Navy. To the Keth vessels. You have 60 seconds to power down your weapons, release your boarding parties, and surrender your ships. This is your only warning. Grak felt a chill run down his spine. But pride was stronger than fear. He had ruled these spaces for 60 years. He would not bow to anyone. 60 seconds? He laughed again. Human, you are far from home. Your threats mean nothing here. I have 3 ships. You have 17. But even if you destroy us, the Keth Dominion will hunt you across the galaxy. They will burn your worlds. They will... 50 seconds. The channel went dead. Grak turned to his crew. Some of them were already backing away from their stations. They could read the sensor data. They knew what they were facing. Hold your positions. Grak roared. We are Keth. We fear nothing. But even as he spoke, he was watching the largest ship in the human formation. It was a monster. A mountain of metal and weapons. Its main gun was pointed directly at the Dark Hunger. Grak had heard stories about that gun. Stories about what it could do. He had never believed them. 40 seconds, Vrek whispered in the cargo hold of the Pale Horizon. Elder Tolo watched the scene through a cracked viewport. He saw the human ships. He saw their size, their weapons, their impossible power. And he felt something even stronger than his fear of the terror. They had called for help. And something worse than the raiders had answered. The universe, Tolo realized, was full of monsters. And the biggest monsters of all had just arrived. The 60 seconds ended. Fleet Admiral Jinho stood perfectly still on the bridge of the Indomitable. His eyes were fixed on the tactical display. 3 enemy ships. 53 hostages. 1 dying alien vessel. Admiral, Captain Sora said quietly. The Keth have not powered down. I know. What are your orders? Jinho was silent for a moment. He thought about the beings on that research ship. He thought about the children crying in the dark. He thought about all the times in human history when the strong had preyed upon the weak and no one had come to help. Tell the soul's fury to fire. The order traveled across space at the speed of light. On the bridge of the massive dreadnought, Weapons Officer Taiwan received it with steady hands. He had trained for this moment his entire life. He had never actually done it. Main gun charged and ready, he reported. Target locked. Fire. The soul's fury spoke. The magnetic accelerator cannon was a simple weapon. It took a metal slug the size of a person and accelerated it to a fraction of light speed. No explosives. No complicated technology. Just mass and velocity. Physics did the rest. The slug crossed the distance between the human fleet and the Keth ship in less than a second. It hit the Dark Hunger exactly where the weapons computer said it would. And then the Dark Hunger simply stopped existing. There was no explosion. Not at first. The ship was there, and then it was gone. The slug punched through the raider vessel so fast that the metal had no time to react. It simply vaporized. What was left expanded outward in a cloud of superheated gas and debris. Warlord Grak died before his brain could register what had happened. The other two Keth ships tried to run. Lieutenant Wujin was waiting for them. He led the Black Hounds, a squadron of 40 Terran strike fighters. They had launched from the carrier Rising Phoenix the moment the fleet arrived. Now they moved to intercept the fleeing raiders. All units engage, Wujin said calmly. No survivors. The Keth point defense systems opened fire. Automated guns tracked the incoming fighters, trying to shoot them down. But the systems had been designed to track alien vessels. Slow vessels. Predictable vessels. Human pilots were neither. Wujin pushed his fighter into a spin that would have killed most alien pilots. The Gi forces pressed against his body like a giant hand trying to crush him. He ignored it. He had grown. Up on Earth, where gravity was stronger than most species could survive. His bones were dense. His muscles were hard. His body was built for punishment. The Keth guns could not track him. His missiles hit the Black Thorn in 3 places. The raider ship's shields flickered and died. A second later, 2 more fighters from his squadron completed the kill. The Black Thorn broke apart in a flash of orange fire. The last ship, the Silent Death, tried something desperate. Its captain saw no escape. The human fighters were too fast. The human warships were too powerful. So he chose the only option left to him. He aimed his ship at the Indomitable and accelerated to full speed. A suicide run. Enemy vessel on collision course, Sora announced. Her voice was tense but controlled. Jinho did not move. Sergeant Major Doyun, your team is cleared for boarding action. Deep in the Indomitable, a group of 12 Marines had been waiting for exactly this order. They were already suited up in their combat armor. Their weapons were loaded. Their blood was hot with adrenaline. Sergeant Major Dohyun was their leader. He was a large man, even by human standards. His armor was scarred from a dozen battles. His face was calm and empty, like a lake before a storm. You heard the Admiral, he said. We are going in. The Marine shuttle launched from the Indomitable and shot toward the incoming enemy ship. Most species would have considered this impossible. The Silent Death was moving at attack speed. Boarding it would require matching its velocity, cutting through its hull, and fighting through its crew, all in less than 2 minutes. Dawn's team did it in 90 seconds. The shuttle slammed against the Keth hull and locked on with magnetic clamps. A cutting torch burned through the armor plating. The moment the hole was large enough, Dohyun jumped through. The inside of the Keth ship was chaos. Alarms screamed. Emergency lights flashed. Keth warriors rushed toward the breach, their claws extended and their mouths open in battle roars. Dohyun shot the first one in the head. Human weapons were not elegant. They were not sophisticated. They were simple machines that threw small pieces of metal at very high speeds. But they were devastatingly effective. The Keth had armor plates. The human bullets punched through them like paper. Dohyun moved through the ship like death itself. His squad followed in perfect formation, room by room, deck by deck. They killed everything that moved. The Keth were warriors. They had been fighting and killing for thousands of years. But they had never faced anything like this. The humans were faster than they should be, stronger than they should be. They worked together like parts of a single machine. And they never stopped. One Keth warrior managed to get close to a human Marine. He slashed with his claws, tearing through the armor and drawing blood. The Marine grunted in pain. Then she grabbed a Keth by the throat and broke his neck with her bare hands. That was when the Keth understood. Humans were not just dangerous because of their weapons. They were dangerous because of what they were. They had evolved on a planet that tried to kill them every single day. Disease, disaster, predators, war. For millions of years, only the strongest, fastest, and most ruthless humans survived. They were not civilized creatures, pretending to be warriors. They were predators pretending to be civilized. Sergeant, Major Dorian reached the bridge of the silent death. The captain was there, surrounded by his last loyal guards. They raised their weapons. Dohyun did not slow down. The battle lasted 11 minutes total. When it was over, all 3 Keth ships were destroyed. 437 Keth warriors were dead. Not a single human had been killed. Admiral Jinho watched the debris field on his screen. His face showed no satisfaction, no pride, just a quiet, tired acceptance. "Send a medical team to the alien vessel," he ordered, "and tell Dr. Minji to prepare for casualties. We have people to save." The rescue, he thought, was just beginning. The humans came aboard the Pale Horizon with weapons ready and eyes alert. Elder Tolo watched them through the cargo hold doors, his body frozen with terror. He had seen what they did to the Keth. He had watched their ships erase the raiders from existence, like a hand wiping dust from a table. Now those same killers were walking toward him. The lead human was a female. She wore white clothing with strange markings. Her hair was tied back, and she carried a large bag over her shoulder. Behind her came 4 more humans, also in white. They moved quickly but carefully, their eyes scanning the darkness. Tolo pressed himself against the wall. Around him, the other Velari did the same. Some of them were crying softly. The children had stopped making any sound at all. They had learned that silence meant survival. The female human stopped at the cargo hold entrance. She looked at the frightened aliens inside. Then she did something Tolo did not expect. She smiled. "Hello," she said. Her voice was soft and warm. "My name is Dr. Minji. I am here to help you. No one is going to hurt you anymore." Tolo stared at her. His mind could not understand what was happening. This was a predator, a Deathworlder, a creature from a planet so dangerous that most species could not survive there for a single day. And she was smiling at him like a mother greeting a frightened child. "Please," Minji continued, "we have a medical ship. Clean rooms, warm food. We will take care of your wounded. We will take care of all of you." No one moved. Minji's smile did not waver. She slowly, very slowly, set her bag on the ground. Then she knelt down, making herself smaller, less threatening. Her eyes were gentle and patient. "I know you are scared," she said. "I understand. You have been through something terrible. But I promise you, on my honor as a doctor and as a human being, we are here to help. That is all we want to do." A small Velari child broke away from her mother. She was barely old enough to walk. Her glow was so dim that she looked almost dark. She walked toward the kneeling human with unsteady steps. Her mother tried to grab her. "Larry, no!" But Larry kept walking. She stopped in front of Dr. Minji and looked up at the strange tall creature. Her 4 eyes blinked slowly. Minji reached into her bag and pulled out something small and soft. A piece of fabric shaped like an animal. "A toy. For you," she said, holding it out. Leary took the toy. She held it against her chest. And then, for the first time since the attack, she began to glow brighter. That was when Tolo understood. The humans were not here to hurt them. The Deathworlders, the terrifying monsters from a hell planet, had crossed the darkness between stars for one reason: to save them. The next hours passed in a blur of activity. Human medical teams moved through the Pale Horizon, treating the wounded and comforting the frightened. Marines who had killed without mercy now carried injured Velari on their backs, as gentle as if they were holding newborn children. Soldiers who could break bones with their bare hands offered blankets and water with soft voices and kind eyes. Tolo was brought to the Indomitable's medical bay. His injuries were minor, but the humans insisted on treating him anyway. A young Marine named Nara gave him warm soup and sat with him while he ate. "Why?" Tolo finally asked. His voice was barely a whisper. "Why did you come?" Nara looked confused by the question. "Because you needed help. But the cost. Your ships, your fuel, your ammunition. We are strangers. We have nothing to offer you. Our world is poor. Our technology is primitive. Why would you risk so much for us?" Nara shrugged. "It is just what we do." Tolo shook his head. He could not accept such a simple answer. "No, there must be a reason. Politics, resources, territory, something." "Elder Tolo." The voice came from behind him. Tolo turned and saw a human male standing in the doorway. He was older, with scars on his face and a strange clicking sound when he walked, but his eyes were kind, tired, and deep. "I am Admiral Jinho," the human said. "May I speak with you?" Tolo nodded slowly. He did not know what else to do. Jinho walked over and sat down across from the Valari elder. Up close, Tolo could see the lines of age and worry on the human's face. This was not a monster. This was a being who had seen too much and carried too many burdens. "You asked why we came," Jinho said. "I will tell you." He leaned forward, his hands clasped together. "A long time ago, my species lived on a very dangerous planet. Everything wanted to kill us. The animals, the weather, the diseases, even each other. We survived by working together, by protecting each other. When someone was hurt, we helped them. When someone was threatened, we fought for them. Not because they could pay us, not because they were useful, simply because they needed help." Tolo listened in silence. "That instinct is still with us," Jinho continued. "It is part of what makes us human. When we heard your signal, when we heard your people crying for help in the darkness, we did not ask questions. We did not calculate costs. We simply came." "But we are not your people," Tolo said. Jinho smiled. It was a sad smile, full of old pain and hard wisdom. "Everyone is our people," he said. "Everyone who cries for help. Everyone who is afraid. Everyone who faces the darkness alone. That is what we believe. That is why we fight." Tolo's glow brightened. For the first time since the attack began, he felt something other than fear. He felt hope. Later, when the Valari survivors had been treated and fed, when the Pale Horizon had been stabilized for travel, Tolo found himself standing on the observation deck of the Indomitable. Young Ensign Nara stood beside him. Outside the window, the human fleet held formation. 17 ships, bristling with weapons that could destroy worlds. And they had come all this way for 53 strangers. "What will happen now?" Tolo asked. Nara looked at the stars. "We will take you home. We will help you rebuild your ship. And then we will go back to our patrols." "Will the Keth come back?" Nara smiled. "They will not. The Keth Dominion will hear about what happened here. They will learn that humans answered your call. And they will know that if they ever hurt your people again, we will come back." Tolo thought about this. He thought about all the weak species in the galaxy, all the peaceful worlds that lived in fear of raiders and warlords. He thought about what it would mean if they knew that someone would answer their calls for help. "You have changed everything," he said quietly. "You must know that." Nara nodded. "We know. Are you not worried?" "About the consequences?" The young human turned to face him. Her eyes were bright and steady. "Elder Tolo," she said, "my species survived ice ages, plagues, and wars that killed millions. We crawled out of caves and reached the stars. We have faced extinction 100 times and won. We are not worried about consequences." She smiled. "We are worried about people who need help. That is all we have ever been worried about." Tolo looked at the human fleet one last time. Then he turned away from the window and went to find his people. He had a story to tell them, a story about the Deathworlders who had answered their call, the monsters who turned out to be protectors, the predators who came not to hunt but to save. It was a story that would spread across the galaxy, a warning to those who preyed on the weak, a promise to those who had lost hope. The humans are listening, and if you hurt the innocent, they will come. They will always come.